Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Take two. This is your host, Skip from BK. This is why you ask questions in the beginning. I am here on this episode of Dreams Money Can Buy with the lovely, the wavy god of all wavy gods, Amber Lauren. Okay, I said incorrect thing. I actually said her like government name, so you probably weirdos probably try to find her and stuff like that. But she is the waviest. When I mean she has it in so many colors, I'm gonna try to see if I can remember the same colors I said last time. Red, blue, light blue, purple, blonde, lime green, which is what she is right now. She hasn't been ginger. We talked about that last time. She is going to be ginger. I love the ginger movement when it comes to the black woman because we just look good in ginger and orange and yellow. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is Amber Lauren. How you doing?
Yeah, what's up, everybody?
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. It's cold.
It's cold as shit.
It's cold as fuck outside.
But we are toasty in here, and I'm so glad to have you in here.
Yes, good to be here.
I've known you since,
I don't know, 2014?
2014. When you knew like those poetic people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we met at, I think like right near the promenade. We ran into you and Jomo.
Yes. Shout out to Jomo. That is my bestest friend of all time. And you've kind of like transitioned a lot in certain endeavors, right? But it's always based around like what you want to represent when it comes to just, being not only just a woman, but a progressive person that you want to own your voice. You want to own your career and you want to do it in the way that, it sees fit for you. I don't know why I was slouching like that so painfully before. We're going to adjust this real quick. We good? We good?
You should be good.
All right, cool. Because I lost sound for 2 seconds. But, and I just observed from a distance, like, yo, Amber's really doing this shit. And we were sitting next to each other in CultureCon.
Yeah.
I saved you a seat. And, the rest is just history as we're going to kind of go through your career. So this end part, when you built your baby, we're not going to say the name until we get to the point. I just want to understand, how did young Amber get from here to here? So let's start way back in the beginning. Amber, where did you grow up? Like, what part of New York City is your homeland?
So I'm from Brooklyn, born and raised.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Let's get it.
Flatbush Junction, where you at? Flatbush and Nostril, you already know what it is.
That's gang.
30s. Nah.
She said the 30s. Let's go.
Of course. So, growing up in Flatbush, late 90s, early 2000s is definitely something that I would never take for granted. Growing up, my mother and my grandmother lived with them. Going to see my dad, he's from Fort Greene originally, but he, at the time, lived in Red Hook. Like the beginning of Red Hook and the Carroll Gardens. But growing up, being in both sides, I got to see two different neighborhoods. On one side, you saw Carroll Gardens. Carroll Gardens was mainly, the melanin intolerant versus going to Flatbush. All my friends growing up, they were Jamaican, Trini, Haitian. Like I am Jamaican. My mother and my grandmother came from Jamaica in like the 70s. Same story, make a better life for themselves. Most of our families up here. All of these great things. And coming up here, it's interesting because even though I grew up in Flatbush, I didn't go to school in Flatbush because of the ideology that the schools near you are not necessarily the better schools, which isn't always true. Of course, we all know that. And that's also a thing that is in proximity to, what is the word that I'm looking for? Like a proximity to whiteness.
Oh, yeah, because, I see what you're trying to say. It's kind of like we want to be in these type of spaces because that's what we expect them to be doing instead of like, all right, and trying to invest in our own communities and try to better it. We always go to those people that, they don't accept us for us. So we're trying to be like them. So we're going to go to their playground.
Yeah. So I went to school in Marine Park. I went to elementary school in Marine Park. Junior high school, I went to school in Gravesend. And high school, that's when I actually started going to school where the first school I ever went to where the students were all black. There are no white kids in my graduating class whatsoever.
What school was that?
Prospect Heights.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I went to Prospect Heights. Because at that time, Prospect Heights had closed in 2003, and they started 4 smaller schools that are still in existence today. Of course, a lot of the teachers, they have a very high turnover rate. So a lot of the teachers don't stay, unfortunately, which in itself is a reflection. It's a lot of layers to it, because a lot of people don't realize that the New York City school system is actually one of the most segregated, if not the most segregated school system in the U.S.
That's wild.
Because I could tell you how my school needed so much funding. Like, there was so many things that like were broken, got stolen, et cetera, et cetera. And then you have like, the big schools, like you got your Midwood, you got your Madison, you got your Murrow, you got Tech, you got all these other schools that have the prestige that, they always get funded. Obviously, they're always going to get funding because those are always the largest schools. And then you have the schools that fall in the middle. That, they're not bad schools. We'll put bad in quotations, because not every school is bad. But not every school is necessarily bad. It's just a matter of how much the educators are willing to kind of nurture and take care of their kids. But that, of course, turns into administration and all of other things, which is why I kind of love Abbott Elementary so much, because it's like, it's pretty accurate.
Philadelphia.
It's pretty accurate, and I love it so much. Like, Quinta is just amazing. All of them. Love to see it. But getting back to coming up and becoming who I am now, after I graduated high school, before I graduated high school, I did like a very brief stint in North Carolina. But that was because my mom's moved. He's like, all right, she had her reasons for leaving, so she left. I finished junior year of high school, and then part of senior year I did it in the South. Oh man, it was a lot. That was a true rebellious phase if I ever did one. But it ended up working in my favor, because long story short, the school, I think like the dean, I guess, he called me into his office. I'm like, am I in trouble? He said, no, we just want to tell you that some of your credits didn't transfer over. So if you stay here, you're going to graduate January 2013. I said, ooh, why'd you spell me going back to New York like that? It's crazy. So I was able to go back to school in New York, but I had a month before graduation. But luckily, all of my teachers fuck with me. They all loved me. They was just like, my history teacher especially is just like, you know what? Here's this online class. Do as much as you can. Just don't fail. And I got an 85, even though, shout out to, I can say this now. I've been out of here 10 years. Shout out to, Google holding it down.
What are they going to do? Going to take your degree? It's too late. It's too late.
No.
Can't take nothing.
I was like, shout out to Google. But graduated, did not go to college right away. Took a semester off. Personal reasons also. If you're under 18 and you're listening to this, please don't listen to them boyfriends or girlfriends or significant others. Go to school. Don't let them manipulate you. Because I was planning on going away to school, and somebody I was dating at the time basically was like, if you go away to school, we're going to break up, and da-da-da-da-da-da. So tricked me into staying. We ended up breaking up anyway. So I was just like, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and do nothing. Fuck it. I'm going to go to school. So I went to community college for 2 years.
Kingsborough.
Yeah. And that is where I started to find myself. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I just did liberal arts and just like took a class. Like for every interest I had, I took a class in its intro course, just to see if I would like, all right, would I do this? And I was very, very close to becoming a criminal justice major. Because I was interested in pursuing criminal psychology, mainly because I was inspired by my physics teacher in North Carolina, who his background before he became a physics teacher, his background was in behavioral psych. So he taught us, a little bit of like what he used to do. He used to do a lot of profiles of like children. Like he worked with child psychology, because he had what inspired him is that when he was starting to become a teacher, one of the students in his class had there was a police officer standing outside of the classroom, and they're just like, what the hell's going on? And he says, sir, the student that I'm here for has the profile of a serial killer. It's just like, what? How do you determine that? So that was something that he talked about. It's like, that was something that's like, you know, at that time, you're young, you want to help, you have this bright idea of the world, like, you know, I want to help change the world. And you can still change the world, but, you know, even if you change the life of one person, that's still changing the world in some capacity. So that's what got him into behavioral psych. He had some life experiences that ended up causing him to go into physics instead, long term, which inspired me. I was like, you know, I would love to do this. Like, I would love to, you know, talk to kids and figure out, like, okay, well, how can we help you steer you off of this track? Things like that. And that's why I wanted to go into criminal psych. And I was almost there. Like, my professor was amazing. She was just so funny, full of life, very knowledgeable. That was also the same semester that I tried out for my college's radio station, where you signed up, because they only usually do it once a semester. And my friend at the time, a good friend of mine, he was the sports director. So as soon as he heard about, because I missed the first round, I was just like, oh man, I guess, you know, I have to wait till spring. As soon as they announced that they were doing a second round because they had a high demand, he ran to me, he said, you come here. What are you doing right now? I was like, nothing. He's like, all right, come on, grab me by my arm. We ran across.
He dragged you all.
He dragged me there. It's like, here, you're the first person. Sign up right now. I was like, all right, say that. So I signed up and I got the training. And it was fun, even though at first I didn't get along with my trainer. And now he and I, like, we were like this, like salt and pepper. And the team was just really fun. That was also the time where there were a lot of black air shows. And I loved to see it. It was just so great. And I did my training. And then, of course, you do training for like a month and a half. And then the final exam is that you sit with the GM or you sit with the program director and you run a shift, you do a shift. A shift is an hour piece where you just like, you know, you play music, you talk in between, you read the news, and you do a verbal PSA, which is like anywhere from 15 to 60 seconds. So we did that. There was something that I was supposed to be taught that I wasn't taught. So they couldn't take points off from me. So I passed off the technicality. But they said, because you pass off of this, you're going to have to do more shifts. And that's the requirement. You have to do at least 1 to 2 shifts a week. So that way you can brush up on your skills and everything. Because before you can put in for a show, you have to do shifts for at least 1 semester. So that was great. And then that's when I realized, I was like, wow, I really love talking on air. Because I grew up in the era of Cypher Sounds in the morning. We saw, you know,
it was Miss Jones in the morning.
Miss Jones in the morning. Elvis Duran, Angie Martinez Afternoon Drive, the Cherry Martinez Show on Power 105. That's the late show. I had no business listening to.
Yeah, you should not have been listening to that. That's crazy. Nobody's like listening to your airwaves. Like, why is she listening to this right now?
Listen, I can explain. I know a lot of y'all might be relating to me where you. A quick side story. So I might have been like 11 or maybe 10, 11. Like, no, I was like 11 and 12. And my mom's gave me this CD player. This was right before like people started getting more iPods. And the CD player had like an AM FM radio station.
Ooh.
So it's just like, ooh, okay. So I have my earbuds in and I would turn the volume all, like, you know, I'm supposed to be asleep. I turned my volume all the way down and I would listen to Cherry Martinez until I fall asleep. And it would be like, you know, all the stuff, the late night late shade, the lockdown love, all the advice questions. And that's what really got me into radio because of how, you know, you're having a conversation. It's not about like, you're not trying to be informative. Well, yes, you are trying to be informative, but you're also, you know, you're trying to connect to your listeners. Remember your people are at work listening to you. People are on their commutes listening to you. People could be, you know, at your job. Just not at your job. I just said that. But like you could be anywhere and, you know, like you're having a bad day. It's like, all right, let me see what's on the radio. And radio is a lost art, but that's a whole other rabbit hole. I'm not going to go down that one.
But what I found fascinating with the sounds like you said you're 11, 12? Like 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
And just like when we're talking about like you going to 3 different schools, I think the first one was, I know the second one was in Gravesend. The first one was in Marine Park. And the third one was in Prospect Heights, right?
Yeah, that's Crown Heights.
Oh, Crown Heights. And it's just like looking at you being immersed in so many different communities growing up, right? And just from like, because 10, 11, 12, so like 5th, 6th, 7th grade kind of. So that's like middle school-ish. And you're starting to get like this bug of like, I really love the radio. And I always feel like from a lot of my conversations I've had with people, it's usually between like kind of like 8 to 13 that you find like this thing where it's just like, I enjoy this thing most of all, right? But, and we're going to touch on it a little later, did you also, while listening to the radio, fine-tuning your writing? Because at no point have you talked about writing, and you're a very good writer, right? So, like, how do we find out that Amber Lauren is really good with the pen? Like, when do you figure that out?
That was actually in high school.
Interesting. Okay.
So, but quickly going back into like 5th and 6th grade, when I started going to school in Gravesend, I went to Cunningham, and that was the first school that I actually had like more Black kids in my class. Like for the first time, I wasn't the only Black girl in the class anymore, because I've had a few classes like that, and you know, it was a culture shock because my school, like I said, didn't have a lot of Black girls. So I feel like to a certain extent I missed out on a lot of things of Black girlhood. Like granted, I had my Black friends, my Black girlfriends outside of school, but it, you know, it hits different when you see your friends every day at school, you know, on the schoolyard and everything. Like granted, I did have some, you know, junior high school, we all went our separate ways. They went to one school, I went to another. And that's when I really started being more immersed in culture, because another thing too is that for part of my life, I grew up in the church. So for this reason, you know, if it's secular, it's not in the house, which is a parallel because before, maybe I was like, we might have started going when I was like 7. Before that, we listened to everything. My mom's had a bunch of like her records. Like I grew up, like both my parents really, like my pops, like my parents are a little older. So if I wanted to listen to like the mainstream music, if it wasn't my cousins, I had to listen on my own. And, you know, growing up, you know, of course you had Bob Marley in the house, you had Beres Hammond, you had Byron Lee, you had Tanya Stephens, Buju, all kind of people. And then on my dad's side, because my dad was from here, we listened to a lot of the Supremes. We listened to a lot of Temptations, Phyllis Hyman, a lot of like, you know, legends in their own regard, legends that we respect now. And of course, everybody else down the rabbit hole, of course, jazz music as well. Grew up listening to a lot of Coltrane. Grew up on a lot of...
Is that your dad's side or your mom's side?
My dad's side.
Okay.
Like they both love jazz, but he listened to a lot more. And then like Curtis Mayfield and so many other things. And on my mom's side, they were more musically inclined because I had a few uncles that were musicians. A couple of my cousins were DJs, and they do their thing. So growing up listening to through my cousins, I would listen to a lot of dance hall. I would listen to a lot of like what was up and coming. Like all my cousins, they would always find a way to get the mix before it was released to the general public. I don't ask questions. I just know that when the parties came, and even my neighbors across the way who are like family now, they had a lot of like, you know, that's how I got into knowing soca, knowing what's it called? Not soca, calypso. And in the holidays they play parang and like things like that. I probably said that wrong. I do apologize if I did.
I love the self-awareness because I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how to say that either.
If I said that wrong, I do apologize. And then growing up with Haitians, I listened to a lot of compa. So it was a melting pot. That's why I appreciated being in Flatbush. And then like growing up, like I said, going in junior high school, being with more Black kids and like learning more and more about culture, more about being Jamaican and things like this. It was very, very freeing. Because that was also at a point where I was just like, I don't want to go to church anymore. But I have my own reasons outside of that.
Okay.
but going back to writing, so I would write because I would do it for like homework, writing my essays. I would always wait till the last minute. It never failed. And every single time, I never got less than an A. Didn't matter. And it's just like, okay, procrastination. Hey, ADHD, how you doing? It wasn't until junior year, my English teacher, we had to write a response to shorts. We were reading short stories because it was like American literature. So I had to do a response to like this one where it was this crazy story where it was this lady who lived in this house and all these people were like, oh my gosh, she's weird, she's crazy, da da da. She had a lover, we never saw him again, and the ending was wild, but I had to do a response about it. And she called me to the, like, after class was over, because it was, like, the last period. And she's like, you're a really good writer. I said, really? Because I never paid attention to writing. Like, my favorite subject in school was history. So it was just, like, I loved looking stuff up. Like, my friends, growing up, my friends called me the walking encyclopedia. Like, I knew a lot of things and a lot of things for no reason other than the fact that I would just be bored looking stuff up. And also because, I wasn't allowed to go outside. So it's like, it was me and the internet and TV. So I would just watch stuff and look up things and, curiosity, piques interest. And that's when she was like, you're a really great writer. I think you should consider writing more. And it's just like, you know what? I think I would. And, I realized how much I like writing. And, also, that's the year when you start getting your college pamphlets and you start looking at schools. And I got a letter from NYU.
Ooh.
For their journalism program. They invited me to apply.
Oh, snap.
It was lit. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so great. And because we had to do we had to do a paper on the schools we wanted to apply to and find out information, how much the tuition was, et cetera, et cetera. So I did. I picked NYU, I picked Columbia, and I think, what was the last school? I know those two stuck out. And it was crazy because at the time, Columbia was cheaper than NYU.
Wow.
Now I think they're just about the same. Because 10 years ago, NYU was almost 40,000, and I think Columbia was like 38. It was way less. And I was just like, ooh, this is cool. And then senior year came, but then because I went down south, if I applied while down there, they would have charged me out of state. So that too put a
battery in your back.
wrench. Yeah. Oh, the last school was Chapel Hill, UNC Chapel Hill.
Okay.
And I went to visit Chapel Hill. Yeah. I went to visit and I realized I didn't want to go because the campus was way too big. It took to walk across the campus was 45 minutes. And it's just and we got lost walking. It took us an hour to find where the parking lot was. I was just like, yeah, I'm over it. And didn't apply. But it was interesting because out of state was like 40 grand, but in state was 6. It's just like, wow, that's, no wonder kids fall into student debt so easily. But yeah, decided to go to community college. And then I applied for a school. I actually got into North Carolina A&T. And the only reason that stopped me from going from A&T is the fact that they were not trying to overlook the fact, because my mom still lived out there at the time. And it was like, okay, well, you can't, even though your mom lives here, you're still out of state. So we're charging you the out of state fee for the first year, which is 15 grand, not including room and board.
Wow.
Not including books or any of that. That's just 15 grand at the gate. Because in state was like 4,000, somewhere around that ballpark. And I was just like, for all that, I'm not going to do that because I'd be going to school for 2 years. I have to pay 15 grand first and then no, I'll just stay up here. That's when I applied to Albany. I applied to Albany because I wanted to go to their communications. UA, Anyway.
She does these calls. I was not expecting this.
But yeah, so I applied to UA. I didn't hear anything back from them at first. And I almost gave up, but I'm like, let me call them. So I called undergrad admissions. First lady was just like really rude. She wasn't trying to hear me. I was like, all right, miss, I'm gonna hang up. Hung up, called back, got this absolute gem of a lady who pulled out my record, and she said, we have your application on file, but your school did not send your final transcript. So apparently what happened with Kingsborough is that allegedly somebody did not send out the transcripts for a lot of people, because I wasn't the only person with this issue. It was myself and a few other people, because we all had to go to their admissions office and get it straightened out. There was a girl I was waiting on the line with. She had a full ride to Syracuse for the dentistry program. Almost lost her scholarship because they didn't send her transcript. So many other things. And I had to send it, just like, what? Because this isn't your fault, I'm going to admit you. I said, oh my God, thank you so much. This is exciting. I'm going to school. I got accepted somewhere. But it was 3 days before the fall semester, so I had to defer to the spring. In between that time, though, it was interesting because I was still on the coattails of radio, and I feel like being at WKRB definitely spoiled me, because a lot of the things were top of the line. I had also rose the ranks and became a music director. I was, at one point I had 2 shows. Then I switched to 1 because I was hosting a show with a friend of mine. And
what was the name of that show?
It was called Cool Vibes Radio. Okay. And it focused on old school hip hop, reggae, and dancehall.
Of course it would.
Yes, of course it would. Because it's hosted by 2 Jamaicans. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was cool. And then I did a show. My show was called The Fix. So
I have that down there. We're going to talk about The Fix, but I do want to talk about both of them. But let's talk first with The Fix, and then we go back into Cool Vibes.
Yeah. So The Fix was something I had no idea what to call my show. So I was just like, well,
you were pondering away, weren't you?
Oh yeah, I was just like, what am I going to do? What am I going to call this show? And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to call it The Fix, because you're getting your fix of pop culture. So it's like, I think somebody had said it like in passing, but it wasn't directed towards me. And I was just like, ooh, The Fix, that's it. So I auditioned. You have to do like a test demo. So you do like the first 15 minutes of what your show would sound like. And I did that. I had to do it over because my co-host at the time, he was part of my on-air check-in, because I did it for a thing we used to do. We used to do like Freeform Fridays, where we would, like, there'd be like 1 hour slots of like shows of things. So I did my show as a tester, and he was on the show. Because his show, he did something like an hour before. So I had to do it over because they said it sounds like Cool Vibes Radio, but for something else. So you're going to have to do this by yourself. I'm like, okay, no problem. So I did it myself. It was great. I got greenlit. And August 2014, that's when I first aired the show. And it was like hip hop and trap music. And it was like trap music. So I played a lot of like classic trap music. How do we get here? And then like I would throw in like what was considered the EDM genre of trap music, because at the time it was kind of popular. I mean, it's fell from obscurity since, but it was also in part because WKRB is an EDM centered station. Before it was WKRB, it was called B91. And B91 actually used to compete with Z100 and Hot 97.
Wow.
And this was before they changed their call letters, also changing the grade of station, because each station has a different grade. And the grade determines what you can say on and off air. It also, what you can say on air, if you can quote unquote curse on air, what curse letters you could say, because FCC absolutely will fine you. Doesn't matter. Like this was before I got to WKRB. Somebody went rogue and like started cursing whole storm, did not realize that their mic was on. So like maybe like 5 minutes this is going on and they looked down and saw it was like the light was on. It's just like, oh my God, they had to turn it off. Somebody called the GM. It was a whole thing.
Damn.
Yeah, it was a lot. But The Fix, that was such a great show. So I would talk about like pop culture.
So you were like, I don't want to say media takeout, but you like the quick hits. So like, you know, like on Twitter, we have like some topic that we do for the day or maybe for the week that we actually, probably discuss 2-3 topics a day: morning shift, afternoon shift, and evening
and the grave shift.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I would do like a weekly wrap up.
Okay.
So it'd be like a summary of like everything that happened. Like it would be like no more than like 5 minutes of like talking about whichever hit. I remember very vividly that I think that was around the time that BET got in a lot of trouble because 106 in Park, it was Karrueche specifically. They got in trouble because they did trending topics and they mentioned Blue Ivy's hair. And 106 in Park was shut down for the rest of the week behind that. Because it was like, why would you? Because Karrueche said something to the effect of, I really did wake up like this because my parents didn't do my hair. And it's just like, why would you say that? First of all, that's a child, bro. Like, she's like 2 years old. Why do y'all care? If she wants to wear hair like this, who cares? She's 2. She's a child. She got more money than all y'all. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, what are y'all really getting out of this? Like, y'all being mad anti-black on a black-owned network, which isn't
black-owned anymore.
Hasn't been black-owned in almost over 20 years. But and I remember talking about that, and I was just like, that is nuts. Why would you do that? But going back to like the origins of The Fix, like I said before, it was like I just wanted to have something that was my show, and that also led to like me leaving Cool Vibes Radio because there was an episode where somebody came onto the show. I won't mention the guest by name, but basically they were like Dr. Umar on steroids.
Damn.
Like it was oh my God, he was such a chauvinistic asshole. I was just at a point where I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing this. I'm not about to play. Y'all not about to play with me. I don't like this. Like, it was to a point where my friends had actually tuned in, and one friend called me after, like, yo, are you okay? I said, no, I'm not. I'm not coming back to the show. I'm done. And it was initially supposed to be a hiatus, and then I just did not come back. Like, yeah, I'm not coming back to the show. I'm fine with my Fix show. And then the other thing too, we called it the block party. So The Fix would start off your afternoon for obvious reasons. It would be Friday because I hosted on Fridays. So it would be like Fridays 4 to 6. And then there would be Electronic Atmosphere. That would be 6 to 8. And then Club KRB, which was 8 to 11, which would play all brand new music, whether it's EDM, hip hop, dancehall, everything under the sun. It played mainly a focus on EDM, but like you would slide in other like mixes, and like they'd have DJs come in and everything. And while I was at WKRB, we actually became the #1 community college radio station in the U.S.
Wow.
It was really dope because it's this award ceremony called IBS, which is basically like the Grammys of college radio. And we were #1 community college for the U.S. and top 4 college radio stations in the nation. And it was like huge because at the time we were all just like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like some people won awards. It was great. And it was like, wow, we really did this, guys. Like we did this. It was really cool. We had like a lot of like guests come in and do drops for us. It was really dope. Like definitely cool to see. And then especially like, yo, we actually did this as college kids. Like we did this. Like, yeah, y'all may not be listening to us, but they listen to us online and they listen to us in other countries and they listen to us like wherever. So it was really dope.
So aside from you working on The Fix, and so The Fix is the entire station one. It wasn't just
the entire station one. Because
like,
the Fix wasn't live yet. This was a little bit before The Fix.
Okay, cool. So it was kind of like a precursor to like greatness, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Albany student press, were you working in the press at the same time as the Fix, before or after? Like, what is the
So
chronological?
the Fix was at Kingsborough. The Fix was during my time at Kingsborough.
So in Albany is like when you made that transfer.
Yeah.
Okay,
When I
okay.
went to Albany, I looked at their radio station. Their radio station was different. WBDC, I believe that's their letters. And basically they had, because when they first founded that radio station, they founded it in the 60s. So like that was in a time where you had a lot of hippies. There were a lot of like going against mainstream music. And the rule was, if it's top 40, it can't be played. If it hit Billboard Hot 100, you can't play it. Doesn't matter what it is. Can't play it at all. There were some things that I wasn't crazy about, mainly because I didn't like how certain things were operated, as well as I wasn't crazy about the station being really, really small.
Okay.
And it's just, I was like, this is really cramped. I don't really care for this too much. So I was just like, all right, well, I'm going to get back into writing. So with blogging, I started blogging first before I started writing.
What were you blogging?
Oh my God. See, now you just unlock the memory before high school. Not before high school, but like before junior year. I actually started my own blog. My very first blog I started when I was 15.
What was it, Blogspot? Or is it?
It was a blog spot. Yeah,
Okay.
It was a blog spot, and it was cool. And as a matter of fact, I used to there was a time where I used to live tweet the VMAs on my Twitter page. I used to live tweet it. And, we used to watch it as a family before we all collectively stopped caring about award ceremonies. But it was a great time. Like, I remember I did, an instant recap of the VMAs. I got 500 hits that night just from that one alone. And it was so crazy. I'm like, wow, this is great. And then I had to stop. Not because I didn't want to do it anymore, but I had lost my father during sophomore year. So,
Condolences.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And I went through, in the midst of all this greatness, there was a lot of chaos that was going on behind the scenes, where I had lost, I basically lost two people that I cared about deeply in less than a year of each other.
So it was Pops and
my grandmother.
Okay.
And that was a moment where I just really started rebelling. I almost dropped out of high school. It was crazy. And my escape was Tumblr. Tumblr was just that era was just timeless, and it was just it was really dope. It was a time where I was just okay, I can exist and it's cool. And then, I slowly started getting out of it and making progress for myself. It wasn't easy, especially being in a household as growing up in a Jamaican household where therapy is instantaneously frowned upon.
Yep.
So
mental health. Pray to Jesus.
Whew, oh yeah. Read the Bible, baby. It'll be fine. What? What are we doing? Okay. But, growing up and coming out of that space and, teenage angst, you're a teenager, you're rebelling against so much shit, and you're just I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. I'm tired of this, whatever. And it was very freeing to be in Tumblr, because that was a place where I could actually be myself and feel like I could be myself, which was great. And then kind of tying the two together, bridging that particular part of my adolescence, and then coming back to how I got into writing in college. It definitely came hand in hand, because, Tumblr is a blog post page. So even though you might just be reblogging images, you might also be writing stuff in between and things like that. And the first thing that I actually wrote about wasn't even for the Albany Student Press. I wrote a community post for BuzzFeed about what happened at my school in 2016. So in 2016, there were 3 young Black women who were racially targeted on one of the buses coming back from downtown. It was a whole thing. This made national headlines all over the place. And they were alleging that the girls had lied about it, that they incited it and everything. Long story short, the girls ended up unfortunately getting expelled. It was a lot. It was a mess. And that was one of the first things I wrote, and that got 2,000 hits. And I was just like, here, guys, this is what's going on. This will be updated, da-da-da-da-da. And then, of course, like, that was also the first time where I started getting feedback. And it was just like, oh, well, this is trash. So how I got into Albany Student Press, I got into the press because my professor, my fundamentals professor, she was like, she wasn't, I guess she was like their, I forget what you call it. She was like, not their counselor, but like basically she was like the
Kind of like a sponsor.
the faculty that oversaw it.
Okay.
So it was cool, but then it was like I didn't really have the freedom to write what I would have wanted to write about. And it was really nitpicky, and I was just like, nobody reads the school paper. So it's just like, all right, with all these factors, I don't think I'm going to write for you guys anymore. I think I only wrote like 2 or 3 things for them. And that same semester, a friend and classmate of mine who was the editor of The Odyssey Online, which was a platform at the time, it was basically, it was set to be the college equivalent of BuzzFeed, basically. And it was a great time. Like, I could write what I wanted. I could talk about whatever. So my very first post was about 6 women in Black history you should know about. And it was like very uncommon names like the Delaney sisters. I don't remember everyone off the top of my head, but I wrote about the Delaney sisters particularly because they're 2 women who, if you haven't heard of them, definitely learn their story. It's a beautiful story. They actually did a documentary about them a few years back where Ruby Dee actually plays one of the sisters.
Okay.
It aired on CBS, and that was the first time I ever watched it, like heard of them, watched them, everything. So it was definitely very, that's what set it off. And then after that, I wrote a thing like 10 signs you know you're from Flatbush. And it was so fun. Like, I wrote things and I was like, here, guys, here's one of my articles. Check it out. And like to see so many people share like, yo, number 5 is a fact. Number 7, that's my life. Like, they seen things like that. It was really cool because, you know, relatability. And then probably one of the pieces that I'm actually the most proud about is I did a breakdown of Lemonade. And that was why I bought Tidal. Like, I got Tidal strictly for Lemonade. Like, I was going to get it, and I was just going to get off of it. But then I just stuck with it. It's like, and now I still have it. So, yeah.
Shout out to the support because I didn't do it. I was like, I'm going to wait.
I did it because that was the only place you could watch Lemonade. It was only on Tidal. It wasn't like if you didn't have HBO, it was on Tidal. So, and I missed the HBO premiere. So I had to watch it on Tidal. And I had maybe about 16, 17 front and back pages of Cliff Notes. And it wasn't even like, it's not even because I'm like a super Beyonce fan. Because I am absolutely part of the Beehive. So, for sure. But
Nice save.
No, I'm absolutely part of the Beehive. I was just saying this like I wanted to do it because I was interested in like how the story was told. I loved like the visual concept about it and like how from, you know, when segue to segue, each thing told a story, even like the spoken word pieces. I thought it was really cool. So I was like, you know what, I would love to do this. And like I broke it down, like talking about like in Love Drought, like when they're walking towards the ocean. That is a tribute to the story of they were slaves coming to America and they were able to, you know, it would be considered quote unquote mutiny, but they were able to overtake the ship and from, you know, the captain and like got the crew, threw them overboard, everything. So instead of going, because they knew if they touched American soil, they were going to be slaves. And rather than be slaves, they held hands. Some of them went overboard, but the ones that did make it to shore, they held hands and they walked into the water. Like that was partially, most of it was true. Like the part of them overturning, like, you know, they it was actually based on a movie. I know some of it was true to an extent. And I just thought it was really cool. It's like, you know, this is actually a really cool concept. And Odyssey Online allowed me to be free write whatever to my heart's
You got paid a
content.
little bit, right?
Yeah, for a little bit, and then
little change.
little something, but not often. It was like here and there.
Okay.
And that was the same summer that I started writing for Brooklyn Bodega.
Cool, because I had the notes and I was like, I guess I had them out of order. I didn't
You had them in the right time. So Odyssey came like maybe 2 months before.
Okay.
Brooklyn Bodega. So Brooklyn Hip Hop Festival, shout out to them. Definitely a dope business. Wes and two amazing people. And they started it is actually the only Black-owned hip hop festival in New York City. And they're grassroots. They've had all your faves on stage and more. Like I think it's this year or last year might have been the 15th anniversary.
Wow.
So they've been doing this for a long time. Like they've had Wu-Tang, they've had and then the thing is when you have a headliner, you never know who might be coming out with them. Like they had Jay Electronica headline, Jay-Z came out.
Wow.
They had it was a lot of people. And then they had I remember that first summer that I interned for them was such a blur, but it was so much fun. Like Nas was the headliner. It was Nas, Fabulous, Talib Kweli, and Rhapsody. And that was the year that Rhapsody announced her contract to Roc Nation.
Wow.
So it was really, she got signed to Roc Nation in 2016. And she announced it on the BK Hip Hop Festival stage. That was also the same year I got to interview Masejo. When he was still a Title X artist, I got to meet, I had the honor of meeting, Taylor Bennett.
Wow. Okay.
In my head, I almost said Chance. I didn't meet Chance. I met Taylor.
The younger brother.
Taylor is nice. He's really cool.
No, I didn't say.
No, I'm saying this like
I've listened to some of his music.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely his own lane.
Yeah, he's definitely cool. There was a few other people that we definitely got to check out. The following year, was I got to watch Dreamville. It was Boz, Kaz, and Omen, and they were really cool. Yeah, right.
Sound like a special like entree or something like that.
Right.
Boz, Kaz, how was that? Because I feel like when we're like looking at everything that leads up to what we're getting to, which is your current like amazing company, right?
Yeah.
It's like from the fix when it comes to like you kind of like working on your voice.
Yeah.
Not that you didn't do it before, but engaging audience, kind of like paying attention to culture because you are culture. Your family has kind of like embedded so much music, and then you did pop culture on the fix. So you're just understanding how to just talk to the everyday person on a Friday. And then, writing on Albany State, like, And then you got to write what you really want to write for Odyssey and Brooklyn Bodega. So, like, your talent now is interesting because you basically had to do two different paths. Not all at the same time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was, like, either or to get to where we're kind of going to in, like, a step or two. But I always find that really fascinating because, like, you going to all these different schools growing up, you seeing, like, you're seeing the city, you're seeing Brooklyn, and I don't know if you actually even had wavy aspirations. Little foreshadowing there, but it's just amazing seeing like how everything you've done like low key leads up to this, right? Because I think a lot of times with people, we're so focused on like the present and the future, we never look back and we never see how we get to these points. And it really is impeccable. Like your journey has like so many little things built up to the big thing. You could have went away to school. Fuck that nigga, in certain situations that, you flipped it to like, put the Amber Lauren like effect on it to like even grow from those circumstances. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely wasn't easy, but definitely grateful for, the lessons, the experiences, the people I've met along the way, the people that I don't talk to anymore.
That's okay.
It's all growth and it's all part of that elevation, if you will.
So about the about Curly Girl Collective, right?
Yeah.
When does that happen? Because like, how long have you stayed with Odyssey? Because I don't think we're finished with Odyssey and Brooklyn Bodega, right?
No.
So let's like finish those things and not rushing it. But like, I love the transition from each is kind of getting blacker and blacker, right? We start off with Albany Student Press, and it just gets blacker and gets more into your lane.
Yeah, and that was really because I was grateful to have the privilege of interning for not one but two Black-owned businesses. Mm-hmm. And that was also at a time
Are you allowed to say those names or?
Yeah, I said one. One is Brooklyn Hip Hop Festival.
But that was one. What was the other one?
The other one is Girl Girl.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it was internship. But.
Yeah. And yeah, so it was really definitely amazing experiences, especially like learning how festivals operate. So it was really cool, you know, having those opportunities and being allowed.
Don't worry about it. I got you.
Being in front of like rappers I grew up listening to on the radio, like seeing Nas. Like I grew up in the middle of the Jay-Z Nas beef. Like I remember where I was the day that Ether dropped. Like I was coming home from school and it was Angie Martinez and she talks about it in her memoir. Have you had a chance to read her memoir?
I haven't, but I mean,
yes,
you can
definitely.
Spoil it. I need to.
It's definitely get into it. It's amazing. She talks about like how she, you know, came into radio, how she first started in Florida before she came back to New York.
Didn't even know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, definitely get into it. It's definitely something that you want to listen to. So she had talked about, you know, the Jay-Z Nas Ether thing.
It was Renegade versus Ether.
Renegade? No. Renegade. Yes, it was Renegade. Wow, my brain just said up.
Because there's like numerous songs, but first song from each side, and then there's like other
Renegade.
things.
And then, you know, it was crazy because she talked about how Jay-Z was actually in the building. He came because he and Angie were like...
They're tight.
Mad cool. So they had just received the Ether tape. So, you know, you gotta press that button because it's in the name of unbiasedness. So she pressed it. As soon as you heard fuck Jay-Z, she looked up and she saw Jay-Z looking at her in the radio station. She's like, oh shit. But you know, he couldn't take it personally because this is her job. This is what she does. Like, she's not picking no sides.
Yeah, it's not her song. She's literally has to play the song.
Yeah. So it was like, I remember coming home from school, and then like we like, you know, we talking about everything, whatever. We're in the school bus just talking, and I keep hitting this, Lord. And
you are not the only person. And trust me, future seasons, I have a fix for that because
I see what you did there.
We're gonna have a fix for that.
I see what you did there. So coming home, you know, we're kids are like 6, 7 years old, and we're just like, yeah, talk about, you know, bullshit kids talk about. Mm-hmm. First thing you hear is fuck Jay-Z.
Everyone's like, yo,
what? Huh? What did you say?
Could you repeat that?
And then we got quiet and we just heard it. And that was another thing too, like being in the school bus definitely opened my eyes to secular music. Like I have a story, but I think I might save that for later after we're finished with talking about everything else. So hearing that and then coming back to the block and seeing all, you know, my friend's dad, like they all used to hang around, you know, they would be in front of their cars, you know, hanging out.
Typical stuff that you see in Brooklyn and Queens.
Yeah, you know, shooting dice, playing Ludy, whatever the case may have you. And they like, yo, you heard that nigga Nas song, son? Da, 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 da. Like, it was Takeover versus Ether.
Yeah, the wrong song. I think Renegade had featured Eminem, but it was like around the same time that song dropped.
Yeah.
So Takeover versus Ether.
Versus Ether. And it was crazy. Like, I'll never forget it. And everybody was just going nuts. Like, yo, did you hear that song? Yes. Oh my God. Like, everybody just like, what's happening? What's happening? And seeing her talk about it in her memoir, definitely. And that was around the time when I started writing for Brooklyn Bodega was when I was reading her memoir. Because that's when she was doing her book tour.
Yeah.
And it was dope. Like going back to seeing Nas. And it was like really cool to be that close up. And I'm doing this because of stuff that I love to do. And it was really cool, you know, just to see that in real time. And then the following year, and this is why I always appreciate taking chances, because that was all the following year was The Lox, DMX, and the headliner was Rakim.
Wow. Okay.
That oh my God, like
that's
seeing
an experience.
seeing DMX, like I want y'all to know that every single story that people have talked about DMX being an incredibly kind and sweet person and hilarious is all true. Like I didn't get to meet him for very long because I was working, but he like we looked at each other and like there was something that happened on his way going up the steps. And I was probably like one of the few people that caught it, and I'm looking over like, the fuck is going on? What are you doing? And I looked over and I looked up and our eyes met and we started laughing. And it was like, that was a moment like I always remember. Because like we were dead looking at each other just like, yo, you believe this nigga? What is he doing? Like I forget what it was. It was something stupid, but it was funny. And he climbed on top of the steps, on top of the speakers, and did Rough Riders anthem. And you know, it was crazy because like the day before he ended up getting... They took him into bookings because of something that happened. I think it was like, I don't remember if it was something happened and they took him into bookings.
Yeah.
And he was able to be released, thank goodness. Otherwise, I'm like, I want to see DMX. I was so sad. And then seeing the Locks, like I grew up on the Locks. Like when they did that verse, that Locks and Dipset verses, like I love Dipset. Like I grew up on Dipset. But
it's crazy how everyone thought Dipset was gonna win in the Locks.
I didn't. This was a Locks fan. So it's like, no, I love, I love Dipset. There's like Dipset had a crazy run from maybe, I don't even want to say, like they really got popular like 01, 02 to maybe about like 06, 07 around that time. Like the heyday.
They had like the early to mid 2000s.
Yeah.
Like that
just
was
about. But then the Locks is like We Are D Block used to get, that's the New York City summer camp national anthem. Everywhere we go, people want to know who we are, so we tell them we are D Block, mighty, mighty D Block.
It's like a war cry. It's a war cry.
That is, and like I tell you that every single millennial child that went to day camp from 02 to maybe like 05, you know this song. You know it. Even if you didn't know it was the Locks, you knew the song. And it's like moments like that. And even growing up listening to just Jadakiss. Like I used to listen to a lot of Jadakiss growing up, not realizing that it was Jadakiss, but I always loved like his wordplay and things like that. So to see them live was just amazing. And then Rakim, the 18th Leather. Like you can't go wrong with that. But it was also the same summer that Prodigy passed. He passed the month before the festival. And I remember we were in the office, doing certain things. And I went on Instagram and I looked at Nas was the first thing that came up on my page. And it said R.I.P. I think it's like R.I.P. forever, something along that line. And I yelled, I'm like, oh shit, Prodigy died, son. And then everybody turned around like, the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, yo, look. And I showed the page and it just like, it was a moment. And then when Rakim was on, was it Rakim? I'm pretty sure it was Rakim. If it wasn't Rakim, it might have been DMX. But when, it was time, like I said before, you never know who's coming out. Like we don't even know who's coming out until 11th hour, not even the 11th hour, until they on the stage. They brought out Havoc. First appearance since Prodigy died. And everybody did Shook Ones with him. And it was just like such a moment in time where it's like, wow, like this is really hip hop and this is really happening. And this is like, was amazing to witness. And I will always treasure, memories like that. Without going too far into like how the make and everything, like those are memories that I always treasure because I was doing things that I loved. But now here's where certain things start going left. And by left, I mean undiagnosed ADHD. So as you hear me before, I've was diagnosed with ADHD last year.
Last year, November 2021?
No, I was actually diagnosed August.
August.
Yeah, so last summer I was diagnosed. I was doing so much that I didn't realize I was doing so much until I had a day where I was just like, I was an undergrad. I had a day where I froze in time, where I couldn't do anything. And I had, at the time, I had risen in my Odyssey rank. They wanted me to be editor-in-chief, but I couldn't take the role because of another obligation that I had. I was also like vice president of another student org on campus at the time. And it was just like so much. And plus I was like doing all this and I took 6 classes. So
oh my God, you're crazy. 18 credits?
Oh yeah. It was, I was insane.
You were absolutely insane.
I was insane. And then
without any Adderall? That's crazy.
Crazy, right. But I did do, I had my little energy, my monster. So kind of got me through
not
school.
The same. It's one that actually gonna help. The other one is I was about to say, it's like a sugar injection. I was about to say cocaine, but it's not the same.
No. We don't do those drugs.
We don't do those drugs. No sniffy sniff.
No, none of that.
None of that.
None of that. So,
so I
had a moment.
You had like a mental and emotional burnout.
Yeah, I burned myself out pretty bad graduating college. It was bad. I burned myself out, and it took me a very long time to get back, to the point where it took me almost a year to get back. And I was just like a completely different person. I was still like I had relaunched my own blog like my senior year of college. So like I took some time from that too, but I was like transparent. I'm like, this is why I've been out. So like, I talked about why, like, my anxiety, and I'm like, yeah, I know y'all probably looking at me like I'm 7 shades of crazy, and I was, but, and then that was when I also started like my therapy journey. So in going away to school, learned a lot of things, learned a lot about myself. Shout out to Black women therapists, but y'all knew that. And being very reflective, because by my 25th birthday, I was just like, all right, nigga, I'm 25. I don't gotta have shit figured out, but I need to start getting shit together, at least. So I started, that's right before that point. I started because I got into Curly Girl out of college. That was my first, like I did something. I was like, I need something to do during the summer. So I applied for Curly Girl's internship program. And maybe I applied like a month and a half prior. I applied while I was still in undergrad. And I was just like, I forgot about it. And then I got a phone call and I'm like, oh my God, yes. So the team is amazing. 6 amazing Black women. Much love to all of them. They are just doing the damn thing. And we were what's known as the dream team, because we were able to successfully get them to 100K by the end of the summer, which is great.
On which social media platform?
Ooh, can't disclose that.
Okay. So it's a major one.
It's a major one, but okay. Can't disclose that.
Cool,
but,
cool. I love that she loves her career, so we're not gonna mess it up with any NDAs. But yeah, I have a feeling I know which one. I think you told me in person. I think, yeah. All right, cool.
But
following the rules.
But yeah, so it was amazing, and like that was actually the very last year. It was in Prospect Park, it was very interesting to say the least, because there was a lot going on outside of that. But it was so amazing to just like, I had so much fun, like running around, just engaging with people, connecting with people,
I think I ran into you one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
If it wasn't that year, it might have been no, you went to, because I did, yeah, because it was 2018, so yeah, it was amazing. And then I posted it on Instagram like a week later, and they're like, oh my God, you were there, why didn't I see you, what's up, what? I was like, dude, I was all over the place. It was like 40,000. We thought it was like 10,000 people. We did the check after. It was like 40,000 people. So many people popped out last minute. We didn't even know. And it was just amazing. And it was just such an amazing experience that I would never like take back. Like, it was just so much fun. And then I had gone the following year, 2019. I wasn't working with them anymore. I was doing my own thing. I was doing like freelance social media management, because at that point it was like, all right, well, I love writing, but writers aren't getting paid. Layoffs were happening every other day. It was just nuts. And there was a whole part that I completely skipped on. Boom. So there was a period in undergrad where I was writing political science journalism. And
that's crazy. I'm glad. I love how you catch yourself, because I would have never.
I was like, boom, I forgot about that. So there was a time where like I covered the 2016 New York primaries that were taking place in Albany, because it was Bernie Sanders had his rally the same day as Trump. Bernie Sanders had already planned his rally, because Hillary's rally was not open to the public. That I remember. Her rally wasn't open to the public, and the other guy, John, whatever his name was, the other guy that like decided to run out of nowhere that nobody knew, his wasn't open to the public either. So Bernie, they announced his was at the Washington Armory on the way downtown Albany. And then Trump did his rally at the Times Union Center. So if you've never been upstate to the Capitol District, Times Union Center is the largest. It's like their equivalent to MSG, except It's a lot smaller. I think it seats like anywhere from 25 to like 50,000 people. I don't remember the number, but somewhere in that ballpark. And what a day that was. My editor at the time, he split us up into two teams. It's like, you guys are going to Bernie, y'all are going to Trump. And there was a reason why he sent the white kids to Trump. He's like, we're going to send y'all there for y'all. We're not sending y'all for y'all safety. It didn't even have nothing to do with like, this is for y'all safety, because the lines, like, I couldn't even begin to describe to you how crazy it was. Like, the line for the Trump rally was 2 miles long, because he announced it like the day before, and it was packed out. Because a lot of people don't realize, like, yes, Albany is the capital district, but Albany is the oldest incorporated city in the United States. Like, yes, you have Jamestown, which is like one of the early considered one, but as far as an incorporated city is Albany. Albany has a lot of rednecks. Albany has this, it's very racist upstate. The further away you get from the city, the more red it becomes. In fact, to give you an idea of how red it was, the only reason why New York went blue was because of the city. Upstate was red, except for the Capital District and part of Syracuse. And a little bit of Buffalo. No, not even part of Syracuse, most of Buffalo. Everywhere else was red.
Wow.
Like, everywhere else was red. It was crazy. So, being part of the writing for the New York primaries and trying to vote for the primaries, because I don't know if you remember where there were a lot of people whose names were like taken out of, they were trying to vote and they couldn't find their names in the system. I was one of them. Like, I had fully registered to vote, updated my address, boom, whatever. Day of, they said, oh, we can't find your name in the system. They couldn't find my name. They couldn't find my roommate's name. They couldn't find a bunch of people's names. And they were putting people's names in that were dead for years. Like, these people were probably dead like 8-10 years. Like, I got a letter for voter registration in my grandmother's name. I'm like, hello? What's going on here? So all of that was definitely happened. We tried to advocate for ourselves. The judge was this super racist Republican. And it was just like, I guess we're not voting, guys. That's just us. Like, and that was crazy, because it's like, there were so many students. Like, they tried to spin a story to say, oh, the students only care about going to, because the primaries were the same day. If I remember correctly, it was the same day that we were getting tickets for our annual Park Festival, which is another side story. But they tried to spin it. I believe it was Time Warner. You could actually look it up, and they posted the story that they tried to say that how like students care more about entertainment than actually voting, which wasn't true, because there were many students that were voting. Most of the students that were on that line voted early in the morning. We just had to be on those lines because at the time, the way it was situated is that you could only get them in one place. They weren't, it wasn't digital. And oh man, that was a chaotic year in itself. But it was also an amazing Park Fest. We had Future that year. So it was great. We had Future, Pusha T, Jeremiah, Terrence J hosted. It was great. Beautiful day. That was also the last one that was outside for reasons I cannot disclose over air. But despite that experience writing in poli-sci, I was like, that particular instance.
That's a precursor to you doing the social media management thing.
Not quite.
Okay, because you had like a light bulb when you were talking about.
Yeah, no,
like,
it is a
okay.
precursor to social media management. But it was also like, I'm never writing for poli-sci ever again. Okay. I'm doing writing what I love. I'm going to sit, because in the journalism classes, they push poli-sci on you. They don't really push anything else. So I was like, yeah, after this, I'm not writing for poli-sci. So that's when I got into Brooklyn Bodega. That's what eventually, I got into social media management because of working for another company that I was working for at the time, that they needed help with social media management. That's how I got into it. And then that's how I got into that for like all of that tie in. Going back to Curly Girl, that's how I was able to get into Curly Girl. That's how I was able to start doing freelance for myself, which was cool because I was just like, I wasn't doing social media because I liked it. I was doing it because it was putting food on the table. And yeah, it was cool for a while. And then now we can fast forward a little bit to 2019. And like by this point, my hair is already short. I went through a short hair journey. I cut my hair off when I got to Albany. Had a fro, cut it off, had a taper for like 7 months, cut that off, cut it short. Wore a buzz cut for a little bit, went platinum blonde. It was great. Graduated college, started experimenting with color, having so much fun. Also around the time that I worked in Curl Fest, because my hair was different colors, so that was also like the cool part. About summer 2019, I woke up one morning and was like, you know what? I'm going to start Waves. This was after months and months and months of my friends like, yo, you should wave your hair. You should start brushing. When are you going to start brushing, Amber? When are you going to start brushing? You should brush your hair. You should start Waves. It will look great. I'm just like, I don't know, guys. I don't know. So I just woke up one morning and was just like, all right, fuck it. I'm going to my beauty supply store. Got my little Annie brush, which I no longer use because those aren't good for your hair. Not that they're not good for your hair. I just didn't like them. Got like my do-rags and started looking on the internet. And I was looking on Pinterest and Instagram for like other like women wavers to get like an idea of what I wanted to do. And I would see like the same faces over and over again. I'm like, wow, that's not cool. And then like going on the wave pages, you didn't really see a lot of women. Like you saw them, but you didn't really see like everybody. You only really see the ones that are active in the waiver community. And it's like, well, what about the ones who aren't in the waiver community? What about the ones that like don't even know that exists? So it's like, all right, cool. I'm a whatever little thought bubble in my head. Now I'm walking. I just left my house and I was walking. I don't remember where I was going to. And I was walking and then I see this little boy and he said, I like your hair. And I said, thank you. Not thinking nothing of it because, you know, kids like to give compliments. So he's with his mom. And then he stopped because we walked past each other and he turned. I guess he saw the back of my head and he stopped and he ran back. I was like, wait a minute. How did you get those 360s? And I'm like, what? It's like, how did you get those 360s? Please show me. I'm trying to get them right. And the poor baby, you could see it in his hair. He was trying to get some stuff. And I'm like, oh, well, you know, I told him what I use. I'm like, well, I just started waving. So that's how I learned I had 360 waves in my hair, or at least was on the path to getting 360s.
It's a very legendary. We got to stop. That's a very legendary thing because it's the 360s, and I got older, and someone like did a 720s, which is crazy. Yeah, that's just super hard. And I feel like I used to have 360. I used to always have the 270s. So basically, like most of my hair would wave, except like I think something was wrong with like when I had a perm face. I used to try to have like the S curls. Like, part of my hair.
Skip with like, the texturizer.
Yeah, that was horrible. But I could never get the 360. And like you'd have to dedicate, like I would like have the do-rag, take it off, shampoo in the shower, brush my hair while shampooing in the shower. So you just brushing.
Yeah.
But I never got 360. So when you see someone with a 360 and it's clean, you be like, yo, dog, show me the way. Show me the way to 360.
And it was crazy because at the time, that's when somebody had told me that, like, you actually need to start using a firmer brush, because I would have it, but then I cut my hair and it wouldn't maintain.
It wouldn't stay through, because if it's like those, there would be times when you have a haircut, you can still have the waves once you get to that point.
So I started taking it more seriously. I actually have to get back into it because I've been bleaching my hair for a while, and you ain't really should be doing it, but fuck that. I do what I want. So as you can see in my story. So boom. I'm like, all right, well, let me, think about this. And I'm still doing social media management. And I'm like, all right, cool. Let me get into it. That's when I started getting this. I used this curve brush, this crown brush. And I was like, all right, it's curved. Crown brushes. Oh, Crown. Sound like you had good memories of Crown.
I got my whole stash of like 3-4 brushes.
I feel that because
drawer.
I got my 5 in the crib, so I get it.
I don't use them for obvious reasons, but they sitting there waiting for me to come back.
Like, come back.
It might. I don't know when it's gonna be, but Wavy skips in the future. I don't know when it's gonna be. It's in the future.
It's coming back. So I'm getting into it. I'm thinking about it more and more. I'm like, well, is there a page that caters to Black women waivers? And I look it up, and then the only one that did exist at the time was inactive. Like, they had been inactive for like 2 years, and it's just like, dang, that's crazy. Then the little gears start clicking in my head.
Even more. Now it's like on some Fast and Furious nitrous. Like, you about to there's an opportunity.
I'm like, there's dead market in here. And like, because you also didn't see them on the short hair pages, because waves aren't really a hairstyle that catered, you don't really see too many Black women rocking that, because when you cut your hair, you're either growing it back or you keep it short, you do buzz cuts or you do tapers and stuff like that. But it's never really part of the natural hair conversation. It's usually like male centered. So with all of these factors considered, this is where we see the birth of what I'm doing today, which is Wavy WMN. So, yeah,
We're going to have a sound effect for that, obviously.
I bet.
I feel like you did it, and you was like, I don't have a trumpet or like a button to hit for like...
So we're going to... the air horns.
We're going to do it. I'm about to jumble, drop.
Yes.
Drop it.
Yes, please. So, that's where Wavy WMN started. Wavy WMN is my baby. I'm the founder and creator of Wavy WMN, which is a platform and community for Black women waivers all over the world. Right now, we are the largest active community of Black women waivers ever. Well, active in terms of activity. We ain't the largest yet. Stay tuned.
It's on the way.
So I launched January 2020. Had no experience as an entrepreneur. I had no idea. I mean, like, freelancing is one thing, but that's, So I finally got into it, and it was crazy. It was just like, wow. I had, first 6 months in, I had 500 followers. By the end of the year, I had 1,000 followers. I finally launched my website. I was like, okay, well, I have this platform, but what am I going to do with it? Which is, getting to that point, you want to make sure that all your business affairs are together. You want to make sure you're an LLC and things like that. Which also, by the way, if you're listening to this podcast, please do not rush becoming an LLC. My advice is that do not become an LLC until you're making money and you have a business account. Don't do it. Because it's unnecessary stuff that you got to do. Like, if you can avoid it, don't until you have a consistent cash flow.
Until you you to the point that the feds might actually start looking for you, should start like planning.
Oh yeah.
No, but like you're saying, like, if you're not making money yet, like, wait. But when you feel like you're about to start making money, start like doing like the paperwork to get it started.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Wavy WMN was launched, and I was like, okay, well, this is community, but I want to do more. I don't want to just be like a page on Instagram or a page on, like, on social media, I want to actually create content. So I started with my series Wavy Wednesdays. Wavy Wednesdays was where you have your wave check Wednesday and your wave crush Wednesday. So, I would make sure I'd highlight women, and I put the highlight on our social media page, and it was cool. I also created like a series. I created an educational series like on hair myths, rumors, history of our favorite hair products and things like that, like what's going on in the hair news and black hair, etc. And I realized that I didn't like the initial name because it didn't really align with the business. So I put a hiatus on that for a while. And then in all of these things, I was just like, I need to create something. So I created the Wavy Talks. So Wavy Talks is a conversation series that I do on Instagram Live monthly, where I speak to Black women wavers, influencers, barbers, hairstylists, and other Black businesses within the Black hair industry. And my first guest was a very popular waver by the name of the Baldy Babe, aka Ayanla. Much love to Ayanla. She was my very first guest. She actually at the time had made headlines, not headlines, but like she, in the community that she was going to stop waving. So I was like, yo, I want to talk to you. I would love to talk to you. She's like, oh my God, yes. Cause she had shown so much love. And like, I had found Black women weavers from all over the world, like from right here in New York to as far as Toronto, Vancouver, Trinidad, Bahamas, Brazil, South Africa, Angola, the UK, France, Paris.
She's dropping bars. She's dropping cities.
We even had somebody check in from Tokyo who was stationed in Tokyo. Like she and her husband are from here, not here in New York, but here in the US. And they were stationed in Tokyo, and she did a test like, yo, I would love to, do a check-in. And it was like really, it was just like, wow. The widespread of this is insane. And just seeing them like, yo, there's like a community for us and bias. And it's like, I made sure to always tell the stories of Black women. And I also do a series called Wavy of the Month, where you fill out a form, what makes them a wavy woman, products they use, how they got into waving, their journey, et cetera, where they come from. And so far, it's been really dope. Like, much love to all the wavies of the month. This month, we kicked off with Tanika, much love to her, out in Houston, Texas. Talked to her about what made her a wavy. And it's all on the website and all these great things. And Wavy Talks became such a thing where it's like, I wanted to make sure that, conversations, we always talk about the conversations that need to be had, but y'all talk all this shit about conversations, but niggas not having the conversation. You know what I mean? So it's like, we talk about it. So that's when I made a vow to create more content in this series that I do called The Founders Corner, where it's like, it's a quarterly series where I check in every few months with, the communities, like, hey, y'all, this is what's going on. This is what I'm working on, all these things, et cetera. And showing my face more, because initially I wasn't going to show my face. And that was because I didn't want to be the sole focus of the page. I'm like, this isn't about me. This is about Black women who wave their hair. I don't want to be the face of this. The face, y'all could be the face. But then somebody made a valid point to me, like, if they don't know who's behind this face,
they can't connect.
Yeah. So started showing more of myself and like going live more. I told them, I was like, I know y'all want me to go live more. I'll do better going live other than just like wavy talks and stuff like that. So it's definitely been an experience so far. I definitely love what I do. It's definitely been a journey, like learning entrepreneurship and learning to be okay with taking a break. Because the other thing too is that like I started Wavy Women January 2020.
Before the panty.
Right before the panty. Right before the panty. And as soon as it hit, boom. Nope. We're done here. We are done here. It was a wrap for a while because the workspace I was working at the time, I miss it so much. It was perfect. And That's actually how I was able to file my LLC, through somebody who I met at my co-working space. Full of information, filed my LLC. I actually filed my LLC on my dad's birthday, which made it all the more special, because that was also like the same day that I paid off the last of my college loans, because I had like $2,500. It was like whatever it was, I paid the very last of it, and it was just like all in the same like 2 days. So it was amazing. It's just like, oh my God, I'm free. Shout out to everybody. The only reason why I didn't pay these loans is because they were going to annoy me if I started my business and then I paid. And it was also a very low number, so I figured I'm like,
might as well knock it out.
Might as well knock it out. Like if it was like 100,000, I'm like, baby, it is above me now. You better argue with Jesus.
You're gonna have to be like Joe Byron.
Byron.
You gonna have to close. You gonna have to cancel these joints.
Right. So coming full circle, and it's like Wavy Women was also part of my personal journey as a woman, like, you know, experiencing different things, realizing that certain things, I wasn't able to do certain things because of other things that happened in my life, and, you know, so on and so forth. And I'm learning these behaviors, and I'm learning certain traumas, all while doing this. It was crazy. And, you know, learning to celebrate myself more, because if anybody had imposter syndrome, it was absolutely me. Like that, like talking now, you would never have thought that I had really bad social anxiety. Skip could tell you.
Yeah.
Skip could tell you.
Crazy.
Skip could tell you.
It's funny. I used to have social anxiety, and people would have never guessed it. Like, but mine was like much younger, like to the point that my younger brother had to call the Chinese food for us. I was like that terrified of talking in public. And then after a while, I created my alter ego, and it's not really about me, but it's quick. The understanding how crippling. So I literally had to create a persona to not be myself, to be something else, to talk to people. And that happened in junior high school. That's where skipping and all the other things happened. So like, that's like this bigger than life personality. So like, normally would be like, I don't really want to talk to people. It's like, now it's like, I have no choice. It's a bigger than life. So yes, it was horrible. Like I had to talk for both of us sometimes, and I had to do the intros because she was nervous.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you were nervous. I was like, you have no reason to be nervous. Like, yes. I was like, oh, you have that. And because I understood that, I was like, I got you. I never told you, but I was like, I got you.
Oh, skip word. See, that's a Kendra thing.
Yeah, it is. That's what we do.
That's what we do. And tying everything together in Wavy Women, and how, you know, I learned more about myself, had to I was like, why aren't things happening for me? And I'm like, oh shit, because I'm in my phone fucking way. Duh. So, you know, got out of my own way. Also, oddly enough, Clubhouse was actually helpful. A huge help, because that's actually how I figured out I had ADHD. For real. Because they suspected it when I was a kid, when I was in elementary school. But because at the time I think I was like 5, and they suspected it. And pretty much they wanted to do the test, because if you do it in school, it's free. While you're under 18, as long as you're doing it while you're in public school, it's free. But it's also because the schools get extra, like extra $4,000 or $5,000.
Yeah, to get that support.
So I didn't get tested when I was 5. They wanted to do another test when I was 7, but instead of getting the ADHD diagnostics test, they did
It was like a more generalized one?
No, they did a comprehensive test to see where I was at academically. So like I was like 7. So they did my reading. I went to like Sylvan, and I did like, they make you read until you're tired of reading, or you're at a point where you're confused. And each page is a different grade level story. So I think I was like 2nd grade. I had like a high school reading level, and I was doing like 5th grade math, and like my writing was pretty up there. And they're like, oh, well, maybe she should get promoted. I was like, no, this is not what I need, guys. I need to get ADHD tested. Not here nor there. So fast forward 2020, the end of 2020, I get on Clubhouse. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I have ADHD. Looked for ADHD-centered groups. I came across this one, which was cool for a while, but then it was like a white-led space. And then a lot of the dialogue that was being created was by Black folks with ADHD. So I had met somebody over Clubhouse. He was in London, same boat as me. We were like, we don't know if we have ADHD. So we talked on the side. It's like, maybe we need to create a space for Black people with ADHD, because clearly this is like, the conversations were cool, but then it would also be that because the working time, because they use something called the Pomodoro method. Are you familiar with that?
Oh, the best style of work. I think it's like, was it 45 and 15? Or is it?
Just about. It's something like that. Yeah.
Like work really hard for 45 minutes, take like a break for like either 10, 15,
and then you go back, and then you take a long break, and then you go back.
Yeah.
So we did those. He created the Clubhouse Club, and that's how, like, Clubhouse is how I got better at public speaking. Like, that's how I got over my fear of public speaking, interestingly enough. And it was such a huge help, where it's like, it taught me how to promote myself more. It taught me how to be less afraid of things. There's actually like a mantra that I got that I still use to this day, and it's I release the fear of being seen. And it's been such a helpful mantra throughout the last 2 years, like promoting myself, telling people about my business and da-da-da. And, it was great. That's how I was able to actually start doing lives. Because before that, I was terrified of lives. Like, I did not want to do a live. Like, I don't want to do a live. What if I say something stupid and people laugh? Like, all of these thoughts, irrational thoughts in my head that made no sense. And, just getting better at myself, learning who I am, learning who Amber is, while the world is just
going to shit.
Basically, it's just like, damn it, why did this have to happen in our 20s? But, yeah.
You speaking for yourself, I'm an old ass man. I said, you speaking for yourself, I'm an old ass man.
I'm crying.
He's like, in our 20s, I was like,
that's like not my 20s, nigga, but your 20s.
Not to say I'm in my early 30s, bro.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
it's not about me. Always a gnat, bro. There's always a gnat that pops up like halfway or near the end. It's not the same gnat because they always die, but it's always in every episode, like halfway through nothing, then there's a gnat just appears.
Nobody. Gnat.
That's what it is.
But yeah, so tying into everything, like this past year was really great for Wavy Women, like Wavy Talks. I relaunched my educational series and now it's called Detangled, where it makes more sense. Like, have you detangled lately? Like, if you're listening to this, detangle your hair. And while you're detangling, get into Detangled. So my first piece was about the pending OGX Beauty lawsuit. So to summarize, OGX Beauty, formerly known as Organics, and their new parent company, Johnson & Johnson, are being sued by two women, one in Illinois, the other in California, over the alleged use of a chemical known as DMDM-hydantin, which is a chemical compound that's found in formaldehyde. And Johnson & Johnson released a statement last year stating that all hair products created after 2016 no longer have this chemical in their hair, because DMDM-hydantin is actually in a lot of your favorite hair products, and it's a lot of your favorite foundations. It's in lipstick. It's in so many different things, but at very small, what is considered the quote-unquote legal dose. So there were a lot of variables that happened with OGX, one of them being that they were actually sued by an environmental science group in California in 2010 over their name Organics, because in the state of California, in order to be considered legally organic, 70% of your ingredients must be organic, not including water. And they found that their ingredients were less than the legal mandate, which caused them to be fined, which also caused the change in their name, which, if you remember, from like 2011 to maybe like 2017, the coconut and the Moroccan argan oil had a chokehold on Black women. YouTube, we used to use it in our co-wash for our bundles. Like, it was heavy. It was big. And now, with the emergence of other businesses, Black-owned businesses, and more women going the natural hair route and everything. You don't really see them as often and then on top of just like other products becoming more available. With all these variables considered, if you want to learn more, visit the website, wavywomen.com.
Wavy Women.
But please note, Wavy Women it's not spelled out women, it's women abbreviated, so it's WMN. Wavy, still spelled the same way, but WMN.com. Shameless plug.
I mean, we're gonna get to these socials again at the end of the episode. I know we're super close, but I do find it interesting with this case because you're not finished talking about it yet, right? Like how we're trying to be more mindful of the products that we put not only in our hair, it's important because that's the closest to your brain, but to your face and your body. Because a lot of times you just use it because that's what you've heard from other people or you think is a good thing. But then it's like you got to read that ingredients of like, I don't think that's a good idea.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But even so, it's like a lot of the like long chemical names. Nobody's looking those shits up. Like these long ass names, nobody give a fuck. It's like Hydrexo, whatever the alphabet soup ass shit. Like nobody's looking that up. Nobody's gonna look at it. They're not watching it, bothering it. None of that. So with all of these considered, it was actually crazy to see because it was like it was spoken about then forgot about, but not forgot about, but a lot of people didn't know about it. So I plan on revisiting some of it coming soon. So again, you'll have to go on the website for that. I have a few more things going up. I have a lot getting ready for this year. Like I'm really excited. It's definitely going to be a great year for Wavy Women.
Okay.
And like how this all kind of ties together. It's just like, like you were saying earlier, like we don't really pay attention to how far we've come. We're just so focused on the present, like, oh, I'm trying to be here by this point. But you don't look back on the past like, wow, I did some cool ass shit.
You did. You did. And I think as we come to the end of it, like before we do the shout outs and we close out, like what do you think when it comes to people just doing stuff is like the most important thing you've kind of learned in just kind of like this revisit of the Amber Lauren journey? Like what do you think is like testament to like your growth as a person?
I would say the first thing is that go for it. Like, do not be afraid for opportunities. Do not talk yourself out of the opportunities because it's very easy to talk yourself out of some shit where it's like, oh my God, they picked me. I don't fucking deserve it. Yes, the fuck you do deserve it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be asking you. Obviously, you do deserve it. And of course, all money ain't good money. But even though one door may close, another one will always open. And the other thing is transparency. Transparency is very important, not just for yourself, but for your audience and your community. Because one thing that I strive for importance especially in Wavy Women, is that I'm always transparent about things. And like there was a time last year where I did have to take in a hiatus, but that was because of like I was nearing burning myself out, and it was a lot. I also had some family issues going on behind the scenes, so I had to take a break. And, I was transparent with my audience. I'm like, listen, guys, there's a lot going on right now, but you're going to come back. And they were very, very supportive. Like, take your rest, get your rest, do all these positive, wonderful things, which also led me to the creation of our Spread the Warmth clothing drive, children's clothing drive, which
recently passed.
Yes, we launched it in November. It was amazing. I partnered up with quite a few Black businesses. Shout out to Amani Market. Shout out to the Stoop Barbershop. Roz Plant-Based, Jenny on the Greens, organic skincare. This is good. Ooh, wow. Not me forgetting the rest of y'all. I didn't forget y'all intentionally. My brain is just on the spot.
We'll do you do like a thing when we plug it on the social media. You'd be like, you can add the others.
Yes.
You're not forgotten.
You're not forgotten. I love y'all. And it was amazing. And of course, CRP, Community Revitalization Partnership, which is a nonprofit organization that works with public schools doing social work, helping them with jobs, doing counseling, doing child counseling, adult counseling, helping them get clothes and everything. So I partnered with all of these great folks, and we were able to donate to 2 shelters, both of them that are centered on Black women and their children, single Black mothers specifically, and a public school in East Flatbush where their student body, they are, first of all, they are one of two schools that are pre-K to 8th grade. And out of their student body, 25% are currently in temporary housing. So you got all of these things going on. Plus you have the eviction moratorium that actually expires today. Today is the last day of the eviction moratorium. So you're going to see there's going to be a lot of evictions over these next few weeks. And it's just like damning to see. I will go down a tangent on that, but to kind of steer it back, we were able to get over 200 items of winter clothes for kids. Of course, you know, you also have to keep in mind, like, kids don't just need clothes during the winter. They need clothes all year round because kids grow.
Super fast.
Kids grow fast. What you get in September won't fit in October or may not fit in September. So that was one of the things that we did. Thanks to the donations that we received, we were also able to create a shopping experience for the elementary school, which was amazing. On their part, they also had like food, you know, they had food, dry foods and things to bring to the kids, to their parents. And it was really an amazing experience because I used to do a lot of community service in undergrad because of being part of student Norris, like at the time, and during my time at Albany, I was the vice president of the NAACP chapter. Ooh. So yeah, that we used to do a lot of community outreach. We worked with the Albany public school system, working with, I keep saying I'm sorry. We worked with a lot of school, like what we did was that we worked with the foster care system, and we used to basically bring like books back to life. Like we would repair them and we would fix them up so that they look good, and they would go to like libraries and for the foster children. And we used to do other things, like we did like walks, we had to do cleanups, etc. We worked with like after school programs and, you know, done stuff. So I wanted to continue that and make that a part of Wavy Women. Like, this isn't going to be the first and only thing that we do, but this was definitely something.
So step in the even the right direction, but a bigger direction.
Oh, so, yeah, absolutely.
You just ended off strong. So let's get the socials. So let's get the your personal socials. Let's get your business socials, and then, you know, we just close out.
Yes, sir. So you can find me at Amber's Modern Life. Like, literally, Amber's Modern Life.
Great tie-in. Yes.
So you can find me at Amber's Modern Life, my personal social. Wavy Women, you can find us at WAV as in victorious, because that's what we are. YWM as in Manhattan, N as in New York. So Wavy Women, you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook. And yeah, thanks so much for having me, Skip. It was definitely, this was a lot of fun. Definitely will not be the last one for sure.
Well, I mean, for
right now, or whatever.
I mean, our episode, this is...
Well, no, our episode is done, but it's like, you know, this isn't going to be the last time.
Oh, obviously, you're stuck with me. But I'm about to say, like, I don't have other things. I mean, I have like an event when all of whenever the seasons are over, because it's like a final season. Nobody knows how many seasons I'm doing except my close friends. I'll tell you afterwards. But
I forgot to announce our event. Oops.
Wait, when is your event? Because I'm dropping on a particular thing. When is your event?
26th.
Oh, this month?
Yes.
You're going to say, by the time they see this probably has happened already, but talk about this.
It's happened already. So season 2 premiere of the Wavy Talks kicks off Wednesday, January 26th, 7 p.m. Eastern time, right on Wavy Women's Instagram Live. My first guest is Susan Oludele. You may know her as Hair by Susie. Okay. She is your fave's fave hairstylist. She has done a lot of work across the industry. She has a hair salon in Brooklyn, which has been rated as the top number one hair salon in New York City by Refinery 29, and she has done hair for the likes of Solange, Zoe Kravitz. She's worked on Destiny's Child, Say Yes music video, and she is one of the hairstylists responsible for
GoPro 1 has died.
And she is responsible for being one of the stylists that created Beyonce's Lemonade braids. So you want to know how your fave got them braids? get in tune and join the wave.
All right. So by the time y'all watch this, probably 2 wavy talks have happened. So
Maybe
it just
like
means that you
2,
gotta just tap in as soon as you see. That was a very passionate sell for that. So yes, we've reached the end of a very wild ride for Amber, Lauren, Amber's Modern Life, Wavy WMN, WMN, creator, founder, visionary. And we want to thank you. I want to say thank you guys for the listeners. You already know who I am, but just in case you don't, for whatever reason, I'm your host, Skip from BK. This is Dreams Money Can Buy. This is powered by Covalpa. That's my baby, and I need to start writing for it too. I've been just doing a lot of things, and
this is your sign.
This is your conscience, and this will be edited, like it's always edited, by Joma Katiana of Slept On Creatives. Shout out to them. And until we meet again, guys, be well, be safe, wear your fucking mask, and see you next time. Peace.
Bye, guys.
Yo, you already know what it is. Bonus credit scene. You dig? This is Skip from BK, and we just spoke with Amber Lauren, amazing Wavy WMN creator. She's a talented writer. She has been, social media manager, just all around, just rock star, right? And it was a great conversation. And just to make sure that I know we have the guests say at the end, but how to keep up with them on Twitter, it's Amber's Modern Life. So it's Amber, AMBERS MDRN Life, LIFE. On Instagram is Modern's Modern Life, but just spelled out like AMBERS MODERN LIFE, Amber's Modern Life. To keep up with her amazing company, Wavy WMN, is Wavy WAVY WMN, and that is on, I believe it's Instagram and TikTok. And she is the host of the Wavy Talks. That's the hashtag on there. So you should know who the host is. Skip from BK. That's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, all that stuff. Keeping to know with my stuff. And I am the creator of Covalpa. We have podcasts. We're gonna have more content. We're gonna have some things out there just to get you abreast of a lot of different things, areas. And this couldn't have been done without the help of Jomo Katiana from Slept On Creatives. So shout out to them for the audio and video editing. So without further ado, we're going to see you for the next episode. Thank you so much for being tapped in to the platform and the systems and the series. Be well, be safe, guys. Peace.